Welcome to Political Voice. I'm Moses Humphrey. Now, it's the Thank God It's Friday edition of the show. And well, it's often said that a good movie director creates an environment which gives the actors the encouragement to fly. A director, it is often noted, is the captain of the ship. He gets the vision of the film much before anyone else can. Well, on the show today, we want to cast an eye on the other world of reality from the lens of the motion picture industry. So, what does the director do in producing a movie? Or, what is the collective contribution of movie directors in shaping Nollywood? In Nigeria, the Directors Guild is denoted as an entertainment guild, which serves as the umbrella for film and television directors in the Nigerian motion picture industry. Now, originally founded in 1999, it is currently headed by Victor Okhai. Well, I think the proper appendage will be Dr. Victor Okhai, now who serves as the president of the guild. It is certainly our joy to have this individual, Dr. Victor Okhai, with us today in the studio. Welcome to VOP Studio, Dr. Victor.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, good to have you. Good to have you. Before we came on the air, we already started talking about the movie industry in Nigeria, the roles directors play. Well, one would say the movie industry has evolved. Nollywood carved a niche for itself and became widely talked about the world over. Bollywood, Nollywood started more or less competing with with Bollywood and Hollywood, but it wasn't exactly for quality of movies at the time. It wasn't exactly because the movies were it wasn't exactly because millions of naira or dollars were spent on movies. It was more because we churned out movies every Monday or every Tuesday. So we had a lot of content. Do we say kudos to directors for making sure that was the case and that put Nigeria there? Tell us about the movie industry and how far it has come.
Let me start first of all. You see, when I hear people say it was not for quality, it was for this or for that, and yet you mention content, and you forget that content is king. Isn't that what it said?
Content is king, indeed.
It is king.
Mm-hmm.
There's a proverb I like repeating over and over. It says, you can eat oil because of yam, or eat yam because of oil. The important thing is you have eaten yam and oil.
Okay.
What is the British industry noted for? Nothing. Film industry, nothing. French.
They have when it comes to the film industry, they have James Bond.
What is James Bond?
That's a franchise.
It's a franchise. Okay. And after that, what else? Eh? Who even remembers that? When you say James Bond, the first thing I call you don't even think of it as a British, even though the character is British, MI5 or MI whatever it is. But no, whether you like it or not, it's not. As far as we are concerned, these are Nollywood movies. I mean Hollywood movies. Excuse me.
I understand.
Now, see, we are one of the only three, if you like, well-established film brands globally.
We are one of the only three.
Yes.
Of course, yes, we are. Hollywood,
Nollywood.
Bollywood, yeah.
Yes. So, and it is important to note that in the category where a lot of people will place us and try to denigrate us and all that, we're number 2 in terms of proliferation, producing and churning out, if I were to use that language, movies week in, week out. Asaba is like a factory right now where you find productions going on everywhere. as well as in other cities. Benin City is another spot. Enugu is another one. Lagos, of course, especially in the Lekki axis right now. Lots of movies are being churned out in that area on the island. You find them in New York, of course, Kannywood in the north, so many, and across. We, as an industry, how do I put it? We have, like very few others in this country, we have succeeded in putting Nigeria on the map for very good reasons. Nollywood has been able to get a lot of people off the streets. I'm talking about employment, providing employment. There are so many engineers, doctors, lawyers, and other professionals who would otherwise have been on the streets, who are today, either through their passion or by whatever means, have found themselves in this industry today. So we're providing jobs, we're providing entertainment. You recall that during President Jonathan's time, when the industry was being rebased, what took us right to the very top was also Nollywood. Apart from that, we are, if you like, one of the best PR and image making, how do I put it now, sources. I don't want to say organ because it's not an organ of government for Nigeria as a nation. There's I was in a conversation yesterday and we're talking about this sort of cultural neocolonialism taking place across the continent and the diaspora now. And Nollywood is at the head of it all. What do I mean by that? You find that across the continent, you go to whether Rwanda, go to even the French countries and all that, people are changing they're taking cues. Fashion, we're exporting fashion.
We are.
Yeah, through our movies.
The Ankara.
Exactly. People look at it and then they copy, they say pause. They watch our movies and then pause and ask their designers to copy those ideas. Architecture, language. I was in a conversation with someone in Kano not long ago, a South African, and she told me about her friend who's never even been to West Africa, who speaks very good Pidgin English from our movies. Okay? And she put her on the phone. Believe me, I was shocked. Apart from the South African accent, her Pidgin is better than many Nigerians I know. And it only happened through the movies. Now, this was what America used to do to us, through the American movies. Our language, the one Agona that people were speaking, which is what our Pidgin English is doing across the continent, the dressing, and all of that. So you find that there's quite a lot. It's a vehicle that is exporting Nigeria's culture and all to the world. It's providing employment and all of that. So there's quite a lot that Nollywood stands for. And if you just look at it and say it's not because of quality, you're also mistaken. The reason being that innovation, like and every disruptive process starts like that with a crawl. When what do you call it now? The Android OS started. It used to be Symbian on Nokia and the rest. When the Android OS started, it was like, what are these people talking about? When Apple started on the high note, of course, but when Android started, it was like, what is this? Today, it's knocked out BlackBerry, knocked out Nokia. Even Nokia carries the Android OS. BlackBerry carries it as well. So, and if you look at also, let's look at digital technology. I mean, purists who would shoot on film for photography or even for motion picture, when digital technology started, like, what is it? The images were looking like muddy and all that. It was Nollywood that embraced it first. We embraced it early because we didn't have money. You understand what I'm saying? But we taught the world to shoot on digital. Today, the technology is so advanced that nobody will touch film anymore. Or of course, a few people still do, but it may be because they don't understand digital. They're more used to that more than anything else. So, and So that's the way it is. So we may seem to have been crawling, but as I
Now
said
we
off
are
camera before we
more or
came
less
on,
flying, right?
whether we know it or not, this one was told to me by an American. I didn't even, so I can't even take the credit for thinking it through. An American told me, an American filmmaker said to me that, do you know you are responsible for the Writers Guild strike, the Writers Guild strike, and the strike in Hollywood that
Okay.
has persisted, that is dragging.
And how are we? How are you responsible?
Because of what is happening right, you can see our films on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, and Showmax, and all these streaming platforms, and you can enjoy them just as much as you enjoy any other movie from Hollywood and the rest. And the reason is to sustain is that the streamers have since found out that, look, we're not missing anything. We're getting good content at next to nothing, which is another matter altogether. You know, from Nigeria, from Korea, and from a few other countries. So they are not missing anything. So they can afford to relax and take their time and let the negotiation drag as long as it wants to.
Okay. Now we know that the directors usually, I mean, are rarely known. Directors are rarely known because they are backstage, and growing up, then nobody would think to be a director. Everybody just wanted to be in front of the camera, wanted to be an actor, wanted to be the face, the model. But later, we found out that there were people who actually tell the actors what to do, tell them how to do it, because they think it through. You know, the director picks up a script and basically finds a way to bring it to life. That's what a director does. Now, I see that you have been re-elected as president of editors,
No, the
Directors Guild. I beg your pardon, Directors Guild of Nigeria. How does that make you feel?
Um, I mean, it's a job. What I mean is a responsibility and a duty to directors in Nigeria. It's, of course, it's a privilege and an opportunity to serve. And I've done this in the last 2 years, just been re-elected. So I'm happy to serve. I can tell you that where we were 2 years before, 2 years ago, is not where we are now. Of course, it's an important role for me to be at the head of this, to lead the directors, because our job is so very important. And to the layman, I like to relate the job of a director in a way that they can relate. You know, if you have ever been to a restaurant, you enjoy those finger-licking delicacies, but you don't know that someone put them together. You understand what I'm saying? You are ready to pay a premium for it, but someone put everything together. And this person is the chef, or the chef rather. And what does the chef do? Of course, he has a recipe, you know, which he creates or he takes, and they using different ingredients, you know, without special touch. You know, he's able to put together and titillate your taste bud. You know, at the end of the day, with your palate, with what he comes up with. Now, that's how a director works. You know, the recipe in this case is like a movie script or idea. And what the director does is using those elements, the ingredients in this case, your tomato, pepper, and the rest of them are like your actors, camera work, lighting, costume design, you know, props, and all of these elements. He puts them together to tell a very good story. Like a chef, no two cooks can use the same recipe and produce the same. The meals would taste differently.
Interesting that you had to say that,
Yes.
because you know what it has looked like, you know, long before now. Well, I know I haven't seen some of the recent movies that have come out of Nigeria.
That's a pity.
It's a pity, I know, but time does not allow me to do that. But growing up, the movies I used to see, one would think, I mean, now if I think about it, I would think it was the same director that directed all of them, because the storyline were basically the same. The crying pattern. That is one part that always got me. I always wondered why. The actor could not just sob as against wailing. There are certain things that would affect you, and just without making a noise, you just break down and tears coming down. When I see that in some movies, it touches me more. I feel more connected, and I'm looking, and before I know it, I start to tear. As against someone screaming and wailing and whoa. But we see a lot of that. We used to see a lot of that. As I said, I haven't seen in recent times. But we see a lot of that. And it seemed like it became, I would say, it became a Nigerian thing. If you don't know how to cry that way, you probably would hardly get a role if you were in the industry. Why do we make us so
Well, there are two
forceful?
things I'll say.
Go ahead, please.
In the early days, a lot of the people who were actors came from stage.
Okay. Totally
Okay.
agree. I totally agree with that one.
Yeah,
You got me
so
there.
you have to be very expressive. You cannot be. You can't.
Okay.
You can't.
With
so,
that one. Okay.
Okay.
With that
So, but you see, television and film, these are like close-up media. You can come up close. You don't have to be that expressive. A wink, a little move here, we'll just say it all. You understand what I'm saying? And these are things like, for instance, I could be smiling at you with my hand behind me. So what you are seeing is a smile, and then the director shows a dagger, a close-up of a dagger in my hand behind. Now the story has changed. So what he's doing at that point is he's directing the attention of the audience to what he wants to see. So these elements together are some of the things that add up to create that.
I love the fact that you just said this. This is another thing. I was in the acting industry for a while. And then I always got worried when we're shooting, when you go to set and you're shooting and you're taking pictures from a room, and then the cameraman pans away. The director says, okay, pan, and then you pan into the sky or you pan to the roof. And I ask myself, of what relevance is the photograph you're panning to? Of what relevance does it have to the storyline? Sometimes nothing. You just want to pan. Or you're walking down the street, you've taken the shot, and then you pan to their feet and you just pan to the grass. And it has absolutely nothing. It doesn't add to the story. That got me worried then, because I always asked, why don't you pan to something else that would make me want to watch the next scene? How were you able to change that, and has that really changed?
I feel sorry for you really, because you've not watched Nigerian movies in recent times. You're still living in the past.
I guess I am then.
It's understandable. So I recommend the therapies.
It's
Please
been,
go watch.
The picture has been ingrained.
In fact, just go to the cinemas and watch a Nigerian movie. It will cure you of all this. The endemic ignorance. Yeah. But anyway, on a more serious note, when you were born, you didn't even sit. It took a while. You started sitting and then crawling, falling, crawling again.
So this is coming of age of the industry.
You're talking about the movie industry of over 20 years ago. Things have changed.
Amazing.
Things have changed. again, I say things have radically changed.
And when we talk about
You
things
should,
changing,
no, I'll say this because you see, when the movie industry started in Nigeria, before it started, I mean, people came from television. The few people who were trained or who had any form of background were from television. And the people who were not in television were coming out of university, theater artists. They were not trained for television, they were just trained for the stage. Okay? And some people were just people who had VHS and were cameramen from there who did. So, like I said, there are innovation and disruptions. In the early days, it looks like that. But eventually, you perfect it and things get better. We have since moved. Are we where we are planning to be yet? No, we're still far from it. But right now, there are more film schools, many more Nigerians. In fact, many rich parents who would have said, God forbid in those days, now send their kids to film schools abroad. Okay? Many are now investing in the I have a family friend who's this guy, he he is with perhaps the topmost accounting firm in Nigeria, was a partner in it. He retired not long ago. His son went to Babcock, came out as a chartered accountant, also joined that accounting firm, then later just dumped it, went to film school, and wants to be a filmmaker today. With all his excellent grades in accounting and all that, with the background he's coming from and all that, all he wants to do is be a filmmaker. Okay? So there's a new generation of people. It's like football. In the early days, who would want their kid to play football? It's like, look, you're bloody wasting your time. What are you doing playing football? Do you want to be useless? What are you making out of your life? But today, the big men, the educated men, are sending their kids to football academies. If they just see a little talent, they want to send them to the best football academies. Because who was it that was saying? Was it you or who that was telling me about Mbappe and how much a guy, what the recent transfer would translate to today, what his daily earnings would be, not even weekly and all that. I mean, so you look at it, a thing is not, you look at it as worthless because there's no money in it. But once you can make money from it, so the same
so
thing,
now there's
looking at
money
this
being
industry.
There's more money being
It's
made.
not just that there's money, it's an industry.
All right. So now that you're sitting at the the helm of affairs at the Directors Guild of Nigeria.
Let me tell you something about some of our members. The Directors Guild, our motto is Primus Inter Pares, as first among equals. Without even thinking twice, I can name not less than 10 professors who are members of the Directors Guild of Nigeria. PhD holders who are members of Directors Guild of Nigeria, I can name not less than 20. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about, in the past, we used to say, all this.
No one is taking that away from
people,
you.
No, I want to say something.
No one is taking that away from you.
I want to say something. You see, it's an industry. You understand, the film industry. I'm not talking about the guild in particular right now, but it's a well-oiled and organized industry right now.
Great.
Do you understand? And the guild system has made it even more so. Okay? So we are properly organized where we run proper businesses, we run a proper professional organization. Unlike what used to be in the early days. So it's a whole different.
Definitely.
game
I totally
altogether.
agree, and I understand that things have changed.
Yes.
Things are turning around.
Have turned around.
Things have turned around. Great. Now, as you have taken over the mantle, or as you're holding on to the mantle as it is, and you had a meeting recently, and the theme was charting the the new African narrative, right?
Yes.
Telling our story. Tell me more about that, because haven't we been telling our stories
Not exactly.
before you
Which is the
say
reason why.
I'm
No,
talking
no,
from
yes. No,
because
I'll
we've
tell
been
you.
telling
Which
our
is the
stories.
reason why Bongo Park founded River Niger. I mean, yes, Bongo Park founded River Niger because somebody else was telling the story. True or false? No Nigerian would tell that story because your ancestors were by River Niger all these years. So how could Bongo Park have founded River Niger? The same thing was happening in our industry. We had a lot of foreigners coming here, getting their PhD and becoming professors by telling our own story. In our very before, if you excuse my language. You understand? They were coming to discover River Niger again. And so we thought, no, you can't be telling, you can't be, we are alive. The people who founded Nollywood, who were here at the beginning, are still alive. And then some foreigners are coming to tell us. So we said, we should take charge of telling the narrative of who we are as a people, in the first instance, and also of our history as an industry. And so we had a convention in Benin recently that also had an academic conference because we're bringing town and gown together. So in that conference we came up with there was a couple of conference with there was this journal, this Nollywood journal, where the first edition, which had contributions from academics in over 15 Nigerian universities, where we decided to tell the Nollywood story. It's going to be an ongoing thing, call for papers for the next edition are already out. And the next conference will be holding in somewhere in November at the University of Port Harcourt. They are hosting. This first one was done in conjunction with the Igbenedion University. So for us, it's important to tell our story, to take ownership of the Nollywood story and of the Nigerian story. Not let foreigners come and tell us who we are. Otherwise, they will tell us that we belong in the jungles. They will tell us that the true Nigerian story is of poverty and all that. I was having a conversation and somebody was telling me how it was in another colleague was in the Caribbean, and the people there were like, talking to him almost in tears. Like, you know what, you don't know what you've done for us. That all the stories we've always seen about black people, we have always been underdogs, we have been put in positions of, but what Nollywood has done, it has shown us that black people can actually own property, can be big, can have servants, can be royalty. You understand what I'm saying? It restored dignity to them. It made them feel important once again because they could see a reversal of roles, through our narratives. Unlike what used to happen, where the white man will now put us only as second class or third class citizens. So we are the vanguard of rewriting this narrative. And this is what it was about. This is what we are set to do.
All right, now call me ancient if you like. All right, call me ignorant if you like. But I know we told some stories in the past, and I had a conversation with somebody not too long ago, and I was like, I blame Nollywood and directors for some of the things that we're seeing today. And as far as I'm concerned, it was as a result of stories told by Nigerians for Nigerians. Stories from movies where ritual killings were the in thing. Where if an individual were to be seen as making money in the midst of his peers, he would have to be involved in something fetish. That was a story that we told. At what point? Yes, now we are telling different stories. We're telling stories of businesses.
May I cut you short there?
Excuse me, please. We're talking about empires being built, modern day Africans, all right, building these empires. That's a story we are telling now. But the story we told before, I would say, and some other people would say, is what we are seeing play out amongst Nigerian youths now. Do you disagree?
Again, let me go to the street and borrow a language. All die and I die. Should I repeat myself? All die and what? Die. Now I'm heading somewhere. Whether you die by ritual killing or you die with a gun, we don't have guns here. It's not guns are not common here
Which is
for
why
us.
we don't. Yeah.
So the Oibos, the white man, you see, go Rambo and all the rest, all the killing and all die now die. Whether it is ritual killing, shooting by bullet, it doesn't justify anyone. Whether you kill because for ritual to make money, or you kill as a gangster to make money, all die now die. It's just in the way the thing is packaged, that's all. There's witchcraft in Harry Potter. In fact, advanced witchcraft. Is it because we paint our faces with white that makes it any different? All die, now die. Witchcraft is witchcraft. The thing now is that maybe because it was a bit crude in the way we're doing, we didn't have all this, the money to make these things present them very well. But the truth is, we are doing the same thing. Whether you are wrecking cars or you are doing rituals or whatever, all die, now die. Okay? On the movie sets. It's just a reflection of what's happening in society and all that. In America, they shoot with gun and do all of that. Here, people may do rituals and all that. All die, now die.
Is the point I'm trying to make?
Yes.
Wasn't that us telling our story?
Say?
Wasn't that us telling our stories?
So?
So now now we want to tell a different story.
I haven't said so. We are
So
still
what is
telling stories. There are different stories.
Different
You can choose what you want to watch. You know, we're telling stories. It doesn't matter. You can tell a story from the 18th century. You can tell a story with people
From yesterday.
I mean, you can tell a story with people in jackets and suits. You can tell a story with people wearing sackcloths and all that. The important thing is you're telling a story. Okay? So the setting, the tapestry against which you paint your story or tell your story can be anything. The important thing is that you are telling a story. Okay? And in all of this, there's a willful suspension of disbelief, which is what filmmaking is about. You see people flying and all that, plane crash. Who dies? Nobody. But we're willing to suspend that disbelief. You see people doing all sorts of magic and all those things. We know these things are not real, but we willingly suspend disbelief to enjoy the moment, to enjoy the story. That's what it is. We provide entertainment, you know, education if you like as well, and all of that. So that's basically what it is.
Well, you said something about location, and that just reminded me of some actors and directors as well who have complained about visiting locations in places like Ikorodu and then being maltreated or being harassed by hoodlums. How many laid down locations do we have in Nigeria? And is the guild working in conjunction with other guilds in the industry to acquire expanse of land to build locations where people will, pay you to go use per time, and it's a set. You understand, like an entire local government or something like that, or maybe that's a bit extreme, but something close to a local government, a big space, a big expanse of land that is a set. You know that when you go in there, you're protected, as against going to shoot in Ikorodu and street urchins are harassing and preventing the team from continuing if they don't drop some money. Are we looking into that?
Yeah. First of all, shooting on streets will never end. It happens. The James Bond series I shot, the last one I shot somewhere in Italy or so, I think. You can see shoot. But when you're talking about sound stages, a place where people can go, studios where ready-made and secular.
I know you know what I mean, but
no, it's okay.
I know you know what I mean.
See, there's a lot happening already. Don't forget, it's still a very young industry. We are impatient with this kid. Just because he's brilliant doesn't mean that he's a mate of the professor. You can't be giving him university because he's passing all his arithmetic, getting 10 over 10, Allow him when he gets to that stage. But anyway, let me get to the point and answer your question. Lagos State government, somewhere in Ekpe, is setting up a very, very ultra-modern film city or film village
Okay.
with
Now you're
investors from
talking.
the US.
Now you're talking.
I've been talking.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
So they're setting up one, and it should be ready before the end of next year, hopefully.
Okay.
It's huge. It's probably going to be one of the best such locations globally. Delta State government has already created one, but how much of it is being used, is here and there. And so there are many such places in plan. There are some private arrangements like that as well. I know of some around the Lekki axis too. People have acquired, created little film villages and all that where people can go rent, use. But streets, I mean, if you have to do it in the street, you have to do it in the street. But what you do is, see how you can control it. And which is why sometimes you have people who are in charge of things like that. So they would have prepped, taken care of that, whether through security. If you have to settle people, that's why you have a budget. You do that and make sure that everything is sorted out. The issue of street urchins or whatever is not only about filmmakers. Anywhere they can make money, they make. You go and do your party, they will come there. Eh? If you are a politician, you come into the area, they will still come. Whatever it is you're doing, anything they can do to make money, they will do it. It goes with the territory. If the government, if they were otherwise engaged, they won't be doing that. But yes, we have many more studios coming up, for sure. Many more film villages coming up. And what a lot of people do these days is, there are lots of apartments now in Lekki and the rest dedicated to filmmaking. They'll just go rent the whole place. Many of the scenes are shot within the apartment and around and in the neighborhood. There are many places like that. Amen Estate, places like that. Jennifer, I know, does quite a lot of her job within the estate and around there. So, of course, if you are isolated cases, you might find situations like that, but it goes, it's part of the job. Every job has its own risks.
Well, that's a relief. It's a relief because hearing that people are trying to make people happy and they're being compelled to put some money down.
It's tough.
It's tough. Yes, it's tough indeed.
Doing business in Nigeria is tough in so many ways, and this is just one of them. It's tough, to be honest.
Well, it's a good thing that you have the government on your side now. Government trying to do something to assist.
We'll have to wait and see what the new administration unfolds. There's no statement yet from them in our favor. We're waiting to hear and we're waiting to engage.
Okay.
And we're hoping that when that happens, yes, we'll see what happens.
Now, tell me more
But it's
about...
in their interest.
It's in their interest.
To work with us.
Tell me why.
To ignore us will be at their own peril. I say so because we know what we are offering at the moment. If they do not partner with us, it's like, for instance, I see a situation where police sometimes they complain and then they say, why are you not representing us very well? When we come to you and we ask for uniforms, if you don't cooperate with us, we'll create our own uniforms and you cannot blame us. So you see that we'll make good partners and then we can project you in the light in which you want. Like I said earlier when the interview started, there's so much that we're doing that is projecting us globally. When our politicians, when they go out, the president, when he goes out, I can assure you, Obasanjo was the first to experience it. He couldn't believe it. He went out there and then they were talking about serious diplomatic matter and then the other president was asking about films of Ake and Popo and the rest of them. They started asking about actors. He had to come back and begin to familiarize himself, with our actors again, which is something I recommend for you too, because you have not watched in a long time. And then, because it was days of, one of the best gifts to give out in those days was CDs of Nigerian, or DVDs of Nigerian movies. So we are projecting this country better than the Ministry of Information can, better than our ambassadors can, better than, and they're not spending money. We're the ones doing it. It's like the entertainment industry, basically. The musicians and the movie industry. What we're doing for this country is amazing. So government needs to be more intentional to see how they can support. One, we have taken so many people off the streets. Imagine if all the people in the movie industry were jobless. What do you think? Well, the kind of imagination we have. You see how creative we are in the industry. With that kind of mind, and then you are there on the streets. It'll be terrible, So I think it's important for government to, see how they can encourage the industry, work with the industry to create jobs, to not just jobs, to also every community we enter. I'll just use as an example again. If a movie enters a community, first, along the value chain, we have over 250 unique professional jobs and titles in a movie. Over 250 along the value chain. We engage so many people.
Like location, makeup artists.
That's the one you are talking about. You forget that when you come, as soon as you bring a movie into this village right now, Okada riders will get job. Caterers, people who are selling food, the supermarkets, you are bringing money into that community immediately. Do you understand what I'm saying? People will begin to spend money until that production leaves. You understand what I'm saying? The hotels will be engaged. You know that? The hoteliers, people for logistics, transporters, food vendors, people, carpenters for building sets, electricians, people who are selling electrical parts, so many things. So many. Well, for every movie, lawyers are engaged, and in many of the standard movie sets, you have nurses that are employed.
Professional
nurses.
On standby.
Yes. You have all of it. Yeah. Lawyers, nurses, doctors, everybody. You think, when you look at, let me use for TV now, say like your Big Brother, for instance, you have to have a standby doctor there. You have to have, all of this, they're all there. That you don't see them doesn't mean that, So, it's so important that, we take this very seriously.
All right, now, there's this group of young children, they're growing up now. I think they're gradually getting into their teens, but they're still young though, that do mimicry. They mimic.
Ikorodu boys?
Ikorodu boys. They mimic. Have they reached out to you? Have you tried to reach out to them to maybe help fine-tune what they do, or help, what they can do better?
Is just fine. You don't need to fine-tune anything. They will grow into the rules. See, right now, that's what makes them special. Don't try to change what people do. Hollywood has recognized them for what they do.
Of course, yes.
You say like a parody, whatever. You don't try to change people. People are expressing. It's like Mark Angel. You look, you call this assessment, but if you know the kind of money that these people are making, you'll be humble. They provide entertainment for people. There is nobody in this country today who has access to this thing. Whether you're politicians or no matter, you can't be too educated to watch Mark Angel, Emanuela. Am I right? You know who I'm talking about.
Of course I do.
Of course you do. Of course
I do, yes.
But you don't know you're a member of House of Reps, do you? You don't. What they do is important. They provide therapy, laughter, so don't attempt to change anybody. Let them be who they are and then grow into it. The problem is we over-criticize. We think things should be in a certain way. And when you change it, you lose the very essence. What they're doing is unique, it is special. The recognition they get from Hollywood and from big, important people globally, our politicians don't get it. We will not change them. They will grow into it. And when they mature, they will come into the industry. They're in the industry already. But they might decide to start doing mainstream type movies on their own. Imagine changing, who do I say as, which character? It says Sabine should now start wearing suit and acting like a banker. Why do you want to change Sabinus? That's what makes him who he is. Any attempt to change that, you have messed it up. So, no thank you. Ikorodu boys are Ikorodu boys, and they are not complaining. They received donation from, wasn't Netflix that donated equipment to them? They did?
Yes. Netflix.
And then they got cameras also
from
Red,
one
some of these.
of the movies.
So many, what are you saying? You want to change them? You know the American actors who are watching them? Hollywood, the big producers, directors are watching them. They enjoy what they're doing. And you want to change them? No, sir.
Nobody talked about changing them, actually. The question I asked you, have they reached out to you? Have you reached out to them? That was the question I asked. Are you,
what we do
because
in
situations
like this,
what they do most of the time is mimic movies from the abroad.
Yes.
So if we want to tell our stories, why don't we have them mimic some of our own movies too? At least mimic the trailers.
No, see, there are, let them be for now. There's nothing to change about them.
All right, so that's what the president is saying.
Yes.
So we'll let them be for now.
Yes, let them be.
All right, great.
That's what makes, that's the essence of whom they are. They will evolve.
By
It's
themselves.
a natural, yes.
Fantastic. So now, charting the new African narrative, telling our own stories. You know, this is going to be expensive. Are you planning to get loans to tell some of these stories? Do you have people doing research already? If you want to tell like the real Nigerian story, like if you want to tell the story, for example, this just popped into my head, the Aba women riots. You would need, some proper research and some funding to go into it. Are you planning to get loans to do so?
There are lots of stories that haven't been told, that are being told, and that will be told. Funding is obviously one of the challenges we have in the industry. The government has tried, but the banks are not helping at all because they don't understand what we're doing. They're looking at the numbers suspiciously. They hear the numbers. They don't understand how these things are made, but because it's not in a way that they understand, they are not as supportive as they should be. Because I know there's a fund the federal government has, made available through the central bank, but the banks would rather pay penalties and give it to us as an industry, which is really unfortunate. But we're going to engage. I think a few more people are understanding what is going on. They are coming here as individuals. Okay. Many diasporans are sponsoring movies now here. The streamers are putting in good money, well, by Nigerian standards, into the industry right now. Amazon, they're doing many originals from Nigeria. Netflix are also commissioning originals. Of course, Africa Magic and Showmax have been doing that all the while. So there are individuals who are coming in and who are having an understanding of what the industry is about, who are being supportive. So it may take a while, but it will be there. But everyone has, there are a lot of stories we told. About Mera may be one of them. It is one, but when the time is right, it will be told, and with the right budget as well. Moremi, there's so many. Quinidia, so many. Varame has been told on stage. So many stories. Quidamina we've seen, of course. It may not be the last of it. Somebody else may tell it again. So, but funding, which has been a challenge, hopefully, with time, as people see how good the industry is, how the creativity is, more and more people will begin to come into it. And the stories will be told. We're not too worried. We are telling what we can with what we have right now.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Indeed, Nollywood has come a long way.
It has.
Tell us about the history of it.
Can I really tell?
Well, there was a journal or a book written to that effect. Right?
There have been a lot of stories, but as many people telling as the stories are. But what I can say is a turnaround point was when Living in Bondage, was produced. Um, there have been a few people that have argued that before living in bondage, of course, there were movies that were produced, before, but as an industry, the real turnaround was with living in bondage, because what happened was when that movie was produced, I think it was 1992. Um, it, it was distributed very widely using a technology that was timely at the time, which is the VHS. So we could reach so many more people, and coupled with the fact that cinemas were already dying by then, and the insecurity of going out there, at night, people didn't want to go out and all that. So the real story that should be told is the turnaround point, and it was in 1992 with Living in Bondage. There are those who will say, and there were some other smaller productions that started before it, but nobody knew about it. You and I don't even remember the names. And I like to illustrate it with a story of a guy who went to a house, and when he got to that house, he met the man, the owner of the house, eating, and the guy invited, oh, welcome, welcome, please join me, and the guy joined him, and he started eating, and another guy came, and when he came, he also met the owner of the house there with the other guy eating, and the owner of the house invited him to eat. He said, no, I came to see Nkechi, is she around? He said, yes, she's in the backyard, you can go and see her. As he was going, the one that was eating with him first said, oh, but that's what I also came to. I also wanted to sit down, my friend. You understand what I'm saying? Now, what do I mean by that? If you were doing what you were doing and you were not intentional about it, too bad. Somebody came, was very, very intentional, had a plan, and boom, an industry started. So I don't think there should be any controversies about it. But like I said, the real turnaround for the industry started in 1992 with Living in Bondage.
And with that also came piracy, and that was something that the industry had to struggle with. How well have you been able to deal? By you now, I don't mean the Directors Guild,
No.
because I know it's not just within the purview of the directors alone. It's the entire industry, the value chain. How have you been able to curtail piracy?
Well, when VHS was very popular, replicating it and CDs it was easy to replicate, and demand was outstripping supply. When demand outstrips supply, then new markets you open up new markets and opportunities, especially for pirates. Now there are not that many homes with VHS. Certainly, I doubt if you have any homes in cities
Well, we
anymore.
still have some compact disc
Yes,
and
yes.
MP3s
So yes,
now.
so you might find the DVDs and VCDs, but even at that, people don't watch them as much as they used to anymore. So that, to an extent, has made the job of the pirate a little difficult. There are other ways now that people consume movies. Of course, they can also be pirated, but it's not like it used to be anymore when we needed to chase the pirates. Now we can sell our movies across different platforms, make our money and all that. The pirates can't go and sell to those same people. And so when we sell to these streamers, our audiences are able to go there and watch them. They've been paid for, okay? If it's a video on demand, then you pay, then of course you get paid per view and all that. But so, to an extent, that has been mitigated. It's not to say that they are still not pirated, they are pirated. But it's no longer like it used to be. So now we have other means of, the pirates now, where they go to, sometimes if you are not careful your job, you might just find it on YouTube. But YouTube is taking care of that, because if you see and you complain, then they strike them. Okay, so, or whatever money is coming from there will be diverted to the original copyright owner. So to a large extent, a lot of this has been curbed. But music, which is not our concern anyway, is still being pirated to a large extent. But even at that, it's not like it used to be anymore. It used to be a very big problem for us, but not like it used to be anymore.
Well, now let's look at the return of the cinema culture. Has that really helped?
To a very large extent, yes.
Mm.
It has helped because people are now willing to pay good money to watch premium content
Okay.
in the cinemas. Why would you want to strain your eyes watching things that are not okay in one rundown place? You know, where pirated and not very good looking copies are. You can, the cinema is safer and you can watch, you know, cinema is a whole experience. It's not just about the movie. You are taking your babe out there, your family there to have an experience, you know, with the popcorn and then the ball, you shop or look around. And so it's a whole experience. So it's good for the filmmakers, it's good for the cinema houses, it's good for the audience.
All right. All right. Good for everybody, I
Everybody.
see. All right, and so let's get your final thoughts now. The president of Directors Guild of Nigeria. What should we expect in this administration?
Well, a lot of directors and obviously the film industry. I'm also the vice president of the Federation of Heads of Guilds, all the guilds. So, so we're beginning to speak as one, come together to see how we can improve. Wherever we're not together, it's easy to divide and rule. The streamers and all the big money people can do that. So we're coming together, uniting as one, to make life better for, you know, directors in the first instance, my constituency, and for all the other members, all other professionals in the movie industry. We're interested in things like the welfare packages, you know, looking at retirement benefits. We're trying to tie in things like insurance and pension schemes.
That would be good.
Yes, for our people, so that even
For
when they
directors
can no longer,
now.
yes,
Oh,
for
absolutely.
directors, and then obviously to spread to other guilds as well. And we're also looking at you know, better compensation packages as well, both from local producers and from the streamers and the other people that are coming, because a lot of money is coming in right now and we cannot continue to be exploited the way we used to. But for that to happen, we have to speak as one and we have to have good representation on the table. So these are some of the things we're doing, but more and more is more town and gown engagement, the conference I told you about, and there's also more engagement with other stakeholders like government and businesses as well, because you see, what we do also help them. You know, businesses help government out. So there will be more stakeholder engagements with these other bodies that we're having to deal with as well. But more importantly, we want to make sure that both as a guild and as an industry, we're number one on the continent.
All right, and we here at VOP we are with you all the way. We'll give you whatever support that you need from us.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for coming on the program, Dr. Victor Okhai, who is the
Thank you
president, Directors Guild of Nigeria. Well, that's the show for today, and you would wonder why we had to talk about the movie industry in a political show, but it's it's all encompassing. All right, it's all encompassing. Well, that's the show. I'm Moses Humphrey. I'll come your way again on Monday. I'll see you then. Bye for now.